Folks, this is Nicole and Kevin again with the PTSD Retreat Radio Talk Show. And if you guys were listening to this last segment, I said hello, and it cut off right there because Kevin and I did it again. I just got off on a tangent and I wasn't paying attention. Usually it's Kevin going off on a tangent and he's positively impacting me. So I'm now starting to do my tangents too. So, but what I'm saying is, instead of doing medications, there are other alternatives. Medication deserves to be the last resort, especially considering all the different things. And Kevin was, before we got right after we got cut off, Kevin brought up a good point. The pharmacies, the pharmaceutical drug companies, they're not creating cures. They are in it for the money, folks. They are creating patients, customers.
They create customers, not cures, yeah.
And that's just BS. And I'm sorry, I've been doing a lot of abbreviated curse words tonight, and this is something that is just driving me nuts because there are ways to combat PTSD. And it does not involve, now I'm hitting tables again, it does not involve drugs. There are things that you can do with your kids. We push our kids away because we don't want to hurt them when you have PTSD. Mm-hmm. And that hurts them so much more because they don't understand. They think they did something wrong. By the way, if you want to let your kids know that it's not them, write them a note and stick it on their pillow. Just say, Mommy or Daddy or whoever loves you so much. Dear son, dear daughter, I love you so much. And there are times when I'm afraid that because I'm having some troubles inside, that I might hurt your feelings. And I never want to hurt you because I love you more than anything. And I just wanted you to know you're the best kid in the world. And just leave that. Sign it, love mom, love dad, love whoever. And leave that on their pillow. You will bring a smile to their face, and that'll be something they hold on to forever. And you think I'm kidding. My daughter has letter binders. And I say binders because they're 3-inch binders that I decorated for her. And inside she has every single one of my letters that she's been able to find. And she holds on to them, and she goes back and she rereads them. These are letters that she has been receiving since she was like 5 or 6 years old. Yeah, I would write little love notes to my daughter. I'd be like, she may not have been able to read the big words, but I would write the big word, and then I'd write a little word that's the same meaning so she could learn. And the little kids that can't read at all, draw pictures. They love them, and they remember. My daughter remembers homework that I made for her when she was like 3. She's like, Mom, you drew me the frogs with the lily pads, and I need to put the numbers on the lily pads so the frog could jump across. She remembered these things. And these are things I took time to draw just because I had a moment, just because I wanted to give her something that would be fun to do, and I didn't have money. So you guys know a little bit about my history. I came to the United States after my ex-husband decided he didn't want us to be with him anymore overseas, long story short. And it was my first time being in the United States without military support because I grew up overseas. My home of record was Germany. And I didn't know what it meant, so I arrived with $450, 2 suitcases, and my baby. I did not have money. I did not know how expensive it was to be here, and I had to learn what it was like to be an American, to shop. I didn't know what Walmart was. I didn't know what Sam's Club, Costco, CVS, any of these Target, I didn't know what those were. And I had to learn the hard way. I thought, ooh, a Whole Food store. Wow, I didn't know they did organic in the United States. I was so excited because I was using coupons. And
Yeah, well, the advertisers and cable television quickly informed you of what all that stuff is.
Oh, yeah, and that's another thing. I didn't have TV because...
God bless you, you're all better off for it.
I know, but it didn't help me then because I probably deserved to have had TV so I knew about what stores were. But I just walked down the street till I found one. But I learned the hard way. But I'm just saying, those little things that I did because we didn't have money, I found out what Big Lots was, and I got paper, and I got crayons and pencils. And I did things with my daughter. And you can still do those. Even if you're worried about hurting their feelings, you're scared, you know what? Talk to them. Let them know, hey, kiddo, I'm dealing with what's called PTSD. And what happened is a really scary event that scared me. Yeah. Can you imagine? I got scared. And you don't have to go into details. You just tell them that. And you tell them that sometimes mommy or daddy has nightmares now. And you know what my daughter did when we had this talk? She gave me a little polar bear that had a light on it. There's a little tiny bear that she used to sleep with. She goes, Mommy, I have Cheetah. You want to have my polar bear? It has a light for you. I mean, that's what my daughter told me. And, but this little talk showed her that it wasn't her. And I told her, she goes, Mom, is that why sometimes you seem angry? I say, yeah, babe, it had nothing to do with you. I'm just angry that things happened the way they did. And I missed you so much. Do you know how hard it was to be away from you? And I giggle with her, and I laugh with her, and I remind her how much she's loved. And that helps so much. And if you're having troubles connecting with your spouse or your other loved ones, do the same thing. Write them a note. And what's really cool, you can use big words. Or you can draw them pictures too. Because those pictures hit the heart just as easily, matter of fact, easier than words sometimes. Let them know. Just draw a heart and an I and a U. You know, I love you. And let them know, I'm so sorry. I'm struggling with PTSD and it's killing me. You know, I just need a little help here. And let them know how they can help you. Would you mind just every day just reminding me that I'm loved? Send me a note. You know, something. Reach out. Let them know that they can be there for you. And sometimes it's easier to write a note instead of say it, because when you're looking at other people and you're dealing with those emotions and you're feeling all and they're feeling like you know, that note can cross chasms. And it's a perfect form of communication through your isms. Okay? So when communication verbally is forming chasms and you're having isms, I love that word, Kevin, by the way, your isms.
Good, thanks. I want to copyright that.
You do that.
Every time you say, you got to give me 5 cents.
Isms.
Not much there. I got that's 200 pesos here. I'll eat 3 meals a day on that.
Remember, you guys, when you're having your isms, use paper and a pencil, or a pen, or a crayon, or a marker. Draw pictures, and just, even if you're having troubles expressing it verbally, pass on that you still love them. Because when you are at your worst and you're having the worst moments of your life, they're still going to be there for you because they understand it's not them. And that will go leaps and bounds beyond you spending money that you don't have. A simple note can do so much. I love you. 3 words. And, you know, if you feel strong enough, let them know you're struggling. And writing that down is sometimes easier than sharing it. And let them know, hey, I'm working on it, but I just wanted you to know that I love you anyway. You know, I love you through this, and it's just because I seem to be pushing you away, it's not you. It's what's going on inside my head, inside my heart, inside my body. So that way they know it's not them, and that you do love them. So anyway, I went off on a tangent there for about 5 minutes, so please forgive me. 8 minutes.
No, that's okay. No, you made me, we were all riled up talking about the pharmaceutical companies profiting off of soldiers and veterans instead of actually doing anything to help us. I mean, they're harming us more than they're hurting us. And I think people are finally starting to see that. And unfortunately, it's taking tragedies to bring that to the public's light. Yeah. But you were talking earlier about other forms of treatment other than the drugs. And while you're going off on your 5-minute tangent about notes to your daughter, and you just reminded me of what has been the most magical thing in my life to bring about peace and get rid of the anger, the resentment, and that's the unconditional love of a child. I mean, you guys know that my 3 children from there in America were moved to England during my war experience and recovery experience in the hospital when I got home, and that's tragic. And I stay in touch with them on Facebook. I try to send them things. Sometimes it gets to them. Sometimes it's returned in the mail. But I keep doing what I can do for now. But you also know I have a son here Danielle, he's 2, just turned 2 last month, and Dearly, his mother, who I love dearly, and that's kind of like a fun, but that's her real name, Dearly, you know that. And it's the biggest thing to bring me peace has been the unconditional love that my son gives me every day. And it's really neat that I'm in a different country, involved with a beautiful woman who knows nothing about Americanism, our wars, it's a completely different mindset. So I don't have to hear it every day. She doesn't know anything about it. I mean, you could go to one of the most educated people here and give them a world map without labels, and they couldn't. Oh, sorry to hit the table. They couldn't tell you where the Middle East was. They don't care. It's a very egocentric culture, which is bad in certain ways, but I mean, they don't care. They don't stress like we do. But my son, he loves me unconditionally. He doesn't view me as some crazy war vet that's got anger issues.
You're just daddy.
I'm just daddy. And his thing is he loves trucks. There's pictures all over my Facebook of him with all his toy trucks. And, you know, sometimes when I'm getting riled up, I just have to stop, take a minute, and say, you know what? I'm not there anymore. They're being Iraq. They're being in America, listening to all the noise. They're at the VA being handled the next bottle of pills when I go in the next month. You know, oh, we'll take this pill because of that pill. Or take this, you know, you mentioned tramadol earlier. I, too, got suckered into that. I was on Vicodin in the Army hospital for my injury, my pain, while, you know, recovering from the surgery, there was just one. But I got hooked on it, and I finally got off of it. You know, kept trying to give it to the doctors, telling them, here, I don't need this anymore. Please don't give it to me. I have an addictive personality. I've been sober for 7 years. And they shove it back in my face. No, here, don't be a tough guy. You know, take it.
Yeah, you got to handle the pain at the lowest level. Otherwise, you need more later.
Exactly. So finally, when I got to the VA, I said, look, I'm out of Vicodin. Please don't give me any more Vicodin. I still have pain. But don't give me anything narcotic. I have an addictive personality. And the doctor, she was being sincere. She said, okay, I understand. Thank you for your honesty. Let me give you this new drug. It's called tramadol, and it's non-addictive. It's habit-forming, but it's not addictive. So she gives me the tramadol. Okay, and this story's in the book. For those of you who have read Off Switch have seen this factual part of my life put into a fiction in the storyline of the book. Well, shoot, the next thing I know, I'm addicted to tramadol, you know, and I'm eating tramadol like candy. And then I'm at the VA 4 or 5 months after that, and the doctor says, or the physician's assistant says, well, I got some bad news. You know that tramadol that I told you that wasn't addictive? And I said, yeah. She said, well, they found out it is, and they've now labeled it a Class 1 substance. I said, guess what, Doc? I've already found out myself it's addictive, and yeah, I already knew this before they, you know, whatever PhDs do these studies to tell you, because I'm addicted to it.
At least your doc told you. I was on that and hydrocodone and Loratab and Percocet, all this other stuff, and Ambiens. Oh, those were so much fun. No, I was like, they're like, don't take these unless you absolutely have to. Take this. Take the tramadol. You know what? Getting off of that stuff, that was the worst 2 weeks of my life, detoxing. I did not even know it was 2 weeks. I thought it was like a couple hours. And then I felt, you know, sometimes it was a couple hours, and then sometimes it was like hell that would never end. You know?
Oh, yeah.
I'd never been through that. I did not know what detox meant. And my husband saw me go through it.
I went through it about a year ago, and I knew what it was because I detoxed 7.5 my relapse lasted 2 years once I got hooked on the drugs. So almost 10 years before that, I went through the withdrawals from alcoholism. But the point I want to mention, they give us those pills, and they always say, no, don't take more than you are supposed to. So that's all well and good to say that to someone who's not addicted to a substance. But once they get addicted to that substance, telling them that would be the same as giving an active alcoholic a pint of liquor or a tall bottle of vodka or a 12-pack of beer and saying, here, now just have one drink.
Yeah.
Just drink socially. Don't get drunk. Once you cross that line and go from being a veteran or any any patient being treated for a medical illness, be it a physical illness or be it a mental illness, and you cross that line and you become an addict, they can do anything they want about taking prescribed, but addicts don't do that anymore. And alcoholics drink one beer and call it quits.
And it's just like having like a reception with nothing but alcohol for individuals with PTSD.
Well, exactly.
So, I mean, it's just
and we got off track, but we're talking about the unconditional love of a child. When I stop and I look at my little boy and I say, Daniel, you want to play with your big trucks? I mean, even if they're little, he calls them big because twice the size of his hands. And to see his face light up, and we run out in the yard, and his mom panics about putting him in pants and a long sleeve shirt because it's good season, and there's dengue here. We've had 3 kids in the neighborhood die in the last couple of months from mosquito bites, you know. But he doesn't care about covering up his skin, and we're running outside playing with those trucks. They bite me all the time. I think that's why I'm sick half the time, too. It makes me sick. My gosh, a mosquito drops dead instantly after he bites me. But that does more for me than any of those drugs ever did. And to sit there and play with those trucks for that kid, and it lasts maybe 5 minutes before his fan's gone and he wants to do something else. But that unconditional love I receive from my child, who does not consider me a crazy veteran, who does not inundate me with noise, you know, and there's a check back in, you know, last week I went for an entire week where I did not mark it off switch. Now, I still work my fingers to the bone. I marketed my other novel, From the Graves of Babes, because I had to get away from the noise surrounding these issues we're talking about. Yeah. You know, and you've got the gun control debate going on, which is interesting. I just found out that because of my PTSD diagnosis, I'm not allowed to own a gun now or something. So because I took 2 arms to defend my country against a foreign threat, I am no longer allowed to take 2 arms and hunt squirrels in the mountains behind the house I grew up in. That's a whole nother issue. But
I
the noise
don't even want to touch that one because this is something I got to share with everybody. Everyone in the country deals with trauma. Everyone, everywhere in the world deals with trauma. There are big traumas and there are little traumas. So you have the big T's and the little T's. I learned this from, this is, Anita Baines said this. She's an EFT master instructor. And it's a perfect way of putting it. There are big T's and little T's. Everybody deals with trauma. PTSD is a normal reaction to extreme trauma. It's okay. It does not mean individuals should be limited. It does mean individuals deserve assistance, support, love, and treatment, however it gets to look. But it does not mean that it gets to be out there. No, that's not him. But I'm sharing with you guys. This is just, bruh. Okay, I'm about to go off on meds again, and I'm about to go off on how things are being handled. You know what, folks? I am going to get this program, and I'm going to bring it to the United States, because there are 2 programs right now in the world, out of all these wonderful programs, that are actually working and that have been used for decades overseas. And it was offered to the United States in 1994 and 95. But due to the political situation at that time, flowers and knees and all that other stuff, it got pushed under the table. And
this was legislation to support
no,
PTSD?
This is not even legislation. No, screw legislation. Oh, sorry, don't screw legislation.
What are you saying this was? Sorry, I zoned out.
This is actually a program. They're 2 programs that actually work for PTSD that have been used for decades. Decades. And it's actually working. It's individuals that there's 2 countries, and until I get their permission, there are 2 countries that that have a resiliency program that work, that they use for their individuals, their soldiers. You know?
Is Israel one of those?
And these programs have been used, and they are working. And guess what? It's not there's no stigma. Anytime a bullet is fired, they automatically go into their program. They know what's coming. It's considered routine, and that is how PTSD should be dealt with here in the United States.
Nicole,
yeah.
Even when we're in the military, what do we do after every practice? You remember what an AAR is, right?
Mm-hmm.
AAR, after action review. After every exercise, after every drill, after every mission, we sit down and we have an after action review. In business, they call it follow-up, or, you're always assessing what worked, what happened, what worked, what didn't, what can we improve on, what can we make sure to stay away of. But when it comes to these things we're talking about, those programs don't exist. Sorry to interrupt you. I mean, you're just telling me these programs almost existed, but they got pushed away?
No, they didn't almost. They do exist outside of this country. And you know what? I'm going to get the program, and I'm going to bring it here, and I'm going to give it for free to any person, and it's a soldier and their family members, any veteran, past or present, even future deploying the military. I want them to be able to have this, because if we put resiliency programs into basic training, had these resilience programs as part of everyday culture in the military, we would not be having the same issues we have now. And not only that, if we teach the family and we teach the soldier these programs, can you imagine how much better our economy would be? Where the money would actually... I mean, seriously, our veterans would not be homeless, struggling to stay alive. Maybe we would have families staying together longer. The military has the highest divorce rate in the country. In comparison to just everyday mom, Joe Schmo, military members have extremely high divorce rates.
Yeah.
Come on. Let's start supporting them. The military says we didn't issue it to you. Well, BF&S.
I talked before on the show, and I want to give a shout out to one of our mutual friends, Elle Ferris, the author of the great book Ripple, which kind of addresses PTSD from a non-military perspective. She wrote a wonderful novel. I read it, and I recommend it. It's on Amazon.
Yeah, she's talking about it from a sexual trauma.
Yeah, it's sexual trauma. Mm-hmm. And people are always saying to me, well, I have PTSD, but I feel like mine's not as bad as yours because I didn't get in combat. No. Mm-hmm. That's like one alcoholic saying, well, I have alcoholism, but it's not as bad as yours because I only drink beer and you drink liquor. Listen, the ism affects us the same way. We get it in different ways, but it has the same effects. We need to get help, whether you got it from combat, being raped, from being in a car accident. But, Nicole, I'll get back to what I was going to say. We're always talking about, I'm trying to reprogram my brain over here. Part of my mission in life, after getting off the drugs, getting sober again, seeing things in Iraq that, I was told I was there for one reason, then I got there and I didn't see the reason why I was there. I started questioning more, so I'm always trying to reprogram my brain, not the way that some corporation, either political party or political group that's not associated with any political party, wants me to think. I want to think the way I think, and I'm always praying to see the world as it exists in its real form, not how others want me to see it. So along those lines, what were you just talking about? I think I forgot to plug some of the wires back then, but I had, no, you were talking about the divorce rate in the military.
Yes.
There's a group of people out there that always say, it was a different generation. This generation's a bunch of wussies, a bunch of candy butts, they're not as hard as they were. Just within the last week, my newly functioning brain came up with this thought. Listen to this. Let's compare apples to apples. Because if you simply want to compare this generation of veterans to a generation of veterans from 60 years ago or 200 years ago, you're comparing apples to oranges, unless if you change all of the circumstances in the lives of veterans from all the different generations. My heroes are World War II veterans. My heroes are Vietnam veterans. My heroes are veterans from the Revolutionary War or veterans from any war who stood up for what they believed in to defend their nation, their people, and their families from tyranny, terrorism, or evil. Okay? Period. Now, I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about as far as comparing apples to apples. When we went to Iraq, we went into our living quarters. Once we were there about a week or two, we got internet access in our living quarters. And I remember thinking, man, this is great. We have it so much better than the World War II generation. Those guys, they went to Europe, they went to the South Pacific, they were there for 6 months or 2 years, however long, and all they got were letters.
If they got their letters.
If they got the letters. But I said, look how lucky we are. We've got laptops, we've got webcams. Yeah, we got to go out on mission every day, and we don't have as much time as we'd like to spend with these things, to us who, were in the combat arms. And but it didn't long before I realized, wait a minute, we might not be as lucky here as I thought. Maybe the World War II guys were a little bit lucky than us, because we started getting guys fighting with their wives on the webcams. Women that were deployed with us, their husbands were telling them, hey, sorry, but this girl across the road, we've been spending a lot of time together, and I'm in love with her. Good luck in your deployment. Hope to make it home. And then, and these girls knew that this man was home with their child, and I'm not going to give any names or anything, but I have a friend in the military who is highly ranking, whose wife recorded herself having sexual intercourse with one of his friends and sent him the video. Okay? Now, these people that say, oh, these guys are just a bunch of candy butts, they're not as tough as the World War II guys, you know what? Let's compare apples to apples. The situation is different all around us. When I was a financial advisor, I worked for Edward Jones for 6 years, and I was independent for 2 years. My bread and butter came from the World War II vets. I got to know these people intimately, and I used a lot of their likenesses and characters in my books. I talked to Jerry Barnes in Auschwitz, is based upon the likeness of a man. He's no longer with us. He died a few years back, 83 years old, a retired psychiatrist, professor of psychiatry at the University of Arkansas. I learned to love some of these people. But I had a woman in her late 70s, had close to $1 million invested with me, and she was on Pearl Harbor during the bombing. She was stationed there as a nurse, and she was a dirty old girl, and she would talk about all the guys and how much she just loved all the guys, and every night her and her friends were going out with guys. She was married.
Okay, to the point.
Well, my point is, I said, I thought your generation was different. You guys didn't do that stuff. And she laughed. Kevin, we did the same thing you guys do, but it wasn't prudent to talk about it. She said, so we didn't talk about it. She said, your generation talks about everything. A lot of the women think it's liberating to go out cheating on your husband, committing adultery as if you go girl. Mm-mm. She said, our people. We're the same, clothes different. But so, again, I mean, don't read into this the wrong way. Anybody saying as if I'm denouncing the words that I am not. I'm not denouncing the generation. They're the greatest generation, okay, in so many ways. But don't denounce the current generation of veterans and saying they're killing themselves in mass because they're weak, they're not as tough as generations of veterans. No. If you want to compare, don't compare apples to oranges, compare apples to apples. And don't be looking at us and calling us candy butts or, grew up in a softer time.
I'm going to actually stop that right there. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the moment people start comparing, the moment people are going to start looking for differences, and the moment they're going to start, finding discrepancies or different things like that. Kevin has got a good point, though. There are differences. But when it comes to PTSD, PTSD existed back then, and it exists now. Would that be accurate for what you were saying? It doesn't matter what your trauma was.
Say that again.
I said PTSD existed now, it existed then, and it's going to keep existing because trauma will continue to happen.
You know, in an article I wrote that ran in Guns and Patriots last week for 150,000 readers, PTSD has existed as part of the human condition since humans have existed themselves. And I put in here, ever since men were fighting wars with stones and clubs and damsels were being dragged into deep, dark places and having deeply dark things done to them by the hair of their head, PTSD has existed. But just now, is it really getting the attention that it's deserving of because of the current war? And you know what? We want to back out the media. The media does keep people in the know of things that are going on, though. It's getting the attention because people are talking about it. And when people, we need to talk about it. Hold on. Somebody sent me a message. You can't hear what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell you. Your voice is going in and out. Folks, what we're going to do is we're going to cut this segment short, and we're going to reopen another segment because our voices are going in and out. So I want everyone to hear what Kevin is saying. So let's stop this. We'll get right back to you. Give us just 5, and we'll be right back in 5 minutes. Thank you. This is Nicole Johnson Starr and Kevin Lake with wHACKOS and key lime pie. We'll be right back.